What if the ultimate proof of spiritual maturity isn't actually your inner peace, but like your inner turmoil?
Which is, I mean, that's completely backwards to how we usually think about it, right?
Exactly. We are so conditioned to think that a healthy mind is a quiet mind. Like, we have this deeply ingrained idea that spiritual or emotional maturity looks like the total absence of conflict.
Just a perfectly glassy, undisturbed lake.
Right. But today's source material it throws that concept entirely out the window.
It really does.
Yeah.
So today, we're taking a close look at a transcript from the official music video for a song called The Wrestle by Pat Barrett.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to explore a profound paradox hidden inside these lyrics.
It's this incredibly counterintuitive idea that conflict and struggle and deeply unanswered questions aren't actually the opposite of faith. They might, in fact, be the very substance of it. So we're going to be analyzing this text not just as a song, but as a highly detailed map of the human experience with the divine, or really, the human experience with our own deepest internal struggles.
And I want to say, if you listening have ever felt guilty for questioning things, or if you've ever felt like your internal battles meant you were somehow broken or failing at trust, this deep dive is designed specifically for you.
Absolutely.
Because we usually associate concepts like trust or, spiritual arrival with absolute serenity. But this source kicks off with a literal boxing match.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah. The lyrics start with, I had a fight with God today. Full 12 rounds on the interstate. Like, we go from 0 to 60 immediately.
Well, what's fascinating here is the juxtaposition, right? It's deliberate and it's jarring. You have this ultimate cosmic opponent, God, placed in the most frustratingly mundane setting imaginable.
The interstate.
Right, the interstate. It takes the transcendent and drags it completely down to earth, right in the middle of traffic.
Which is just, like, the worst place to be.
Exactly. And a 12-round fight implies endurance. I mean, in professional boxing, 12 rounds is a championship match. It is a prolonged, grueling physical and mental event where you are being pushed to your absolute limits.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the interstate setting is perfectly chosen.
How so?
Well, it represents a space of forced spaces. Like, you are stuck in a car, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the taillights in front of you, just hashing it out with the universe because you literally cannot walk away.
You're trapped in the ring.
Yes. But then comes this wild twist in the very next line. After going these grueling 12 rounds, the speaker says, "It's the closest that I've felt in days."
Wow.
And then they immediately follow that up with, "There's a whole lot I wish you would explain."
That is, I mean, the core psychological truth embedded right at the start of this text is that fighting requires engagement.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, when you are grappling with someone, or even wrestling with a massive existential concept, your attention is entirely focused on them. The paradox the songwriter highlights is that the sheer exhaustion of the fight is actually what brings the closeness.
So the fight is the connection.
Exactly. In human psychology, apathy is the true opposite of connection, not conflict. When we look at interpersonal relationships, why do humans require conflict to establish trust boundaries?
Because conflict forces the other party to see you. It demands recognition.
Precisely.
I mean, think about the dynamics of a long-term relationship, right? If two people never, ever argue, it usually means one of two things. Either one person is entirely suppressing their needs to keep the peace,
Which is toxic.
right? Or both people have become so apathetic that they just don't care enough to hash things out anymore. Like, the first real messy argument is often the stress test that solidifies the bond.
Because it proves they both care.
Exactly. The fight proves that both people are willing to stay in the ring and do the exhausting work of understanding each other rather than politely walking away.
And the songwriter is laying out this exact dynamic, but with the divine. By openly admitting, there's a whole lot I wish you would explain, they are highlighting the tension of navigating life without a clear roadmap.
The frustration of the unknown.
Yes. They are acknowledging that frustration. They don't have the literal answers, but they have the engagement. They're in the ring, demanding to be seen.
And when literal answers fail us, the human mind instinctively reaches for metaphors.
always.
The speaker desperately wants an explanation for why they're stuck in this grueling 12-round match. But instead of getting like an itemized spreadsheet of cosmic reasons, the text pivots.
Right, we move from the raw emotion of the highway fight to the mechanics of transformation.
Yeah, it launches into this series of natural metaphors to explain why the struggle is necessary.
The lyrics shift into this really beautiful sequence. They say, what's wine without the pressing diamond ring, without the setting? What's trust without the letting go?
And then it builds even further. What's a rose without a petal? What's gold without the metal? What's faith without the wrestle?
Which is just structurally incredibly poetic.
It is. But let's bypass the physical chemistry here, like how grapes become wine or how carbon becomes a diamond under earth-shattering pressure.
Right.
The deeper question for you, the listener, is psychological. Why is this intense pressure a prerequisite for value?
Well, neurologically and emotionally, resilience cannot be built in a vacuum. It requires friction.
Okay.
The human brain actually structurally adapts through the process of overcoming stress.
Mm-hmm.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, these metaphors reframe the 12 rounds entirely.
They change the meaning of the fight.
Yes. They take the struggle out of the realm of arbitrary punishment and place it firmly into the realm of refining. You simply cannot have the refined product without the intense pressure. The pressure is the mechanism that reveals the inherent value.
Okay, but I need to push back on this a little bit. I have to challenge this romanticization of struggle.
Go for it.
Is the songwriter actually just justifying unnecessary pain? I mean, we hear this pressure makes diamonds trope all the time, and frankly, it can sound a bit like spiritual gaslighting.
That's a really fair point.
Like, does faith actually require a 12-round fight on the interstate, or is framing it as a refining process, just, I don't know, a psychological coping mechanism for trauma?
Yeah.
Are we just telling ourselves that the suffering has some magical poetic purpose so we don't have to face the terrifying possibility that we're just alone and exhausted in traffic?
That is the essential, critical question to ask of this text. And to answer it, we have to look really closely at how the metaphors themselves subtly shift in the lyrics.
Okay.
The songwriter actually anticipates this exact critique. The sequence starts with metaphors of process, right? Pressing to get wine, letting go to get trust.
Things you do to get a result.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then it moves away from process and into intrinsic molecular identity.
Oh. Like a rose without a petal or gold without the metal.
Exactly. A petal isn't something a rose goes through to become better. It is what a rose is.
Oh, wow.
Metal isn't a temporary phase for gold. It's the fundamental substance. By placing what's faith without the wrestle at the climax of this progression, the text makes a massive philosophical leap.
Wait, so it's saying the wrestle isn't the process.
Right. It argues that the wrestle isn't just a tough phase you endure to eventually arrive at a peaceful state of faith. The wrestle is the actual structural anatomy of faith itself.
Wow, that flips the entire paradigm.
It really does.
Because we usually sit in the middle of the crisis thinking, I am wrestling right now, I have all these doubts, so my faith must be breaking apart.
Yep.
But this text argues the inverse. You are wrestling, which means you are currently holding the raw, authentic